Well, good morning. And thank you for inviting me. You have a beautiful space here. No, I'm not checking my email. I'm putting a timer on myself because I have been given a set amount of time and I could stand here for hours and I don't want to do that to you. So I'm here to talk to you about the Royal City Mission, and I'm going to proceed as if you know nothing, and don't be insulted by that. So the Royal City Mission is in a heritage church on Quebec Street across from the bookshelf. And it is a day shelter. So what we're talking about today is not solving the housing problem. The Royal City Mission doesn't have anything to do with that. But what they do is support people who are unhoused or in transitional housing or just living in poverty during the day. So they have several services there in the basement of their lovely facility. When I first joined them, they were serving 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. This past year, they've been serving 2 meals a day, 7 days a week. And Hope House on Cork Street was picking up the breakfast crowd. They have a dining room that sits 80 to 100 people. They have a commercial grade kitchen with a gas stove that has 8 burners that I am terrified of. They have a commercial grade dishwasher. They have a walk-in fridge and walk-in freezer so that they can make the best use of the donations of food that are given them. And they have volunteers they have staff that cook the meals and volunteers that serve the meals 7 days a week. This is a huge operation. I'm sure you guys have done community meals. Serving 100 people is a big deal. They also offer people shelter. So right now, they need warmth, need to get out of the cold. But in the summertime, they need to get out of the sun. They need to just sit down. They just need somewhere to be. So they offer shelter. They have washrooms there because the businesses in the downtown area don't want these folks going into their businesses to use their washrooms. So not only do they have washrooms, but they have a elevator and a handicap accessible washroom. Just this past year, they've added showers because if you're unhoused or if you're sleeping at Stepping Stone, which is the night shelter run by the county on Gordon Street, you don't feel human if you're not clean. And people don't interact with you well if you're not clean. So they've added showers and laundry facilities. And then finally, they have a storage program because, again, if you're living in a tent under a bush beside a trailway, where does your stuff go? Even if you're living at the overnight shelter, you've got to have your stuff in your knapsack and keep it as your pillow or it'll go missing. So at the mission, they have Rubbermaid tubs and people can put their stuff, meager as it is, into a tub and have it stored. I did a chat with kids at some high schools recently, and I said, people, could you put everything you own in one Rubbermaid tub? They were aghast. So that's what the mission does. They protect people and support people during the day. And back in 2024, they were short of money, as they were last year, as they are this year. And I am a retired English teacher, and I am good with words. And so I said, what I'd like to do is put a book together to help people understand what's going on at the mission. I live in that 18-story condo next to the Sleeman Center at the corner of MacDonnell and Woolwich. I call it a tower of privilege. I have a very nice life that I don't feel guilty about. I worked hard, but I am aware that I lead a life of privilege. So I wanted to help my neighbors who were saying, oh, I don't like to go downtown. There's scary people downtown. Who are those people? What are they doing? I wanted them to understand what was going on. So I went into the mission community and I sat down with people and I said, hi, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And I'd like to hear what led you to be in this situation. And I expected them to say, mind your own business, get out of my face. But instead what they said is, no one's ever asked me before. And I had adults weeping as they told me their stories. And the stories just gushed out. It wasn't any creative writing on my part. I just took it down like a receptionist. And then my job was to make it coherent, because these folks don't speak to you in a linear manner. You know what I mean? This happened, then that happened. So what I came to realize is that a lot of people there have mental health issues that are untreated, addiction issues, but some, just through a series of bad circumstances, have ended up in poverty. I did not know what ODSP is, the Ontario Disability Support Program. Some people are living on $700 a month. It's breathtaking. A single-bedroom apartment in Guelph, no utilities included, is $2,000 a month. So how do you do that? Anyway, I captured the stories and put them together in this book called Stories from the Mission. And I have been running around talking to lovely groups of people like you and reading you a story. We all like story time, right? I'm going to read you a story. And the purpose of these stories is to answer 3 questions. Why do they choose to sleep outside? Why don't they just get jobs? And where are their families? Those are the questions my neighbors were asking me. So I'm going to read you this story about a character named Trevor. It's not his real name. There's a staff member in this story named Amanda. She's a real person. She's in this room, right over there. And then after I finish the story, let's talk about the answers to those questions. All right. I brought water with me because it's a lot of talking. Okay, the story's called Broken. Trevor knows that his family loves him. They just can't be with him. And so he lives in the deep forest. He enters the mission in the early evening carrying a black knapsack, a takeout food container, and a light fixture. A staccato monologue follows as he settles at the table. And they took it. No permission. They took it. I see you. You. I know you. They were there yesterday. Cold, very cold. It's gone. They've got it. No, right. They took it yesterday in the dark. It's cold. It's gone. Trevor's rant continues as he tucks his bag out of reach under the table and places the food container on its sticky surface. Previous occupants have left empty coffee mugs and rings. He begins fiddling with the light fixture. It's gold, very valuable, a chandelier, worth a lots of money, real gold. Just needs fixing. I'll cash it in. He handles the fixture gently as he inspects his found treasure. A mission volunteer appears at his side and greets him by name. How are you today, Trevor? Good. I've got a chandelier. I can see that. The volunteer wipes the table with sanitizer and picks up the 2 empty mugs. Where'd you find that? People throw things away. Nice things. I'm going to fix it. It's worth lots of money. Well, be careful not to cut yourself on the broken glass, Trevor. See there? There's a piece missing. The volunteer indicates a partial glass panel on what is clearly a cheap brass hallway fixture. Don't hurt yourself. The volunteer moves on to collect other items for the dishwasher and to tell a staff member about the broken light fixture. Trevor often arrives with a found treasure. One time, it was 3 rocks the size of potatoes that he was convinced were valuable fossils. Other times, he's had a crushed machine part, a ragged book, a bald wooden nutcracker figure. Trevor is a scavenger. The room is crowded today because it's cold outside. A man asks whether he can sit at Trevor's table. Sure, everyone's welcome here. Trevor pulls the light fixture toward himself, making space for the newcomer to set down his coffee. Seeing the drink, Trevor decides to get himself a coffee and a snack. As he waits at the counter to be served, Trevor keeps one eye on the light fixture on his table. The Mission is the only place where Trevor engages with others. On the street, his rants cause pedestrians to keep a distance. But here, people know he'll respond politely when he's spoken to. Sure, Trevor has conversations with those who can't be seen, but he's respectful and grateful to be here. He was never able to meet the standards for expected behavior. In school, he couldn't be still, had to move all the time, couldn't be quiet. In the elementary grades, he needed an educational assistant to wrangle him. He was constantly moving, touching things and classmates. For years, his parents and teachers hoped he would grow out of it. They tried medication, but it wrapped him in an intolerable fog. By grade 10, his uniqueness had become significant enough to result in leaving the educational system. But he can read. He loves to recite passages from the battered Bible he keeps in his bag. Staying focused is the problem. Trevor got a job when he left school. His parents insisted. He worked on a loading dock, did shipping and receiving. But that work requires careful attention. There was detailed paperwork, and all the items had to go in specific places. Trevor's distractedness was deemed a safety hazard. His rants annoyed his fellow workers. It was not a good fit. "What have you got there?" the table companion asks when Trevor returns with a coffee and a cupcake. "A chandelier. I found it. I'm going to fix it. It's worth a lot of money. It's gold." "Buddy, it's gold colored. That doesn't mean it's gold." The man takes a drink and waits to see whether his comment will be understood. Someone threw it out because it's cheap and broken. No one's going to want it. Trevor stares at the light fixture. He notices the gold is scraped away in places and there's a silver medal underneath. He's been tricked. It's pretending to be gold and valuable. He drinks his coffee and eats his cupcake in silence. At first glance, Trevor might cause one to think he has a Middle Eastern ethnicity. He is dark-haired and fine-featured with what appears to be a dark complexion. However, closer inspection reveals that the darkness of his skin would be dissolved with sufficient soap and hot water. Dirt, soot, and grease tint his exposed flesh. At the campsite, which he refers to as deep in the forest, Trevor often builds a little fire to keep warm. A faint scent of wood smoke is embedded in his clothing. It's an aroma that tweaks memories of summer campfires. Trevor doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, and he doesn't take drugs, not even the ones the doctor told him to take. He eats well and gets plenty of fresh air and exercise. A couple of weeks ago, he had a bike that he'd found abandoned in one of the city's parkettes. Riding it made it easier for Trevor to get from the forest to the city's core, but the bike didn't have a lock, so while he was having dinner at the Mission, someone took it. He's traveling on foot again. The Mission is Trevor's mailing address. He gets a support check from the Ontario Works program. It provides $300 per month. That's his sole income. And so he lives in the woods, eats at the Mission, and hunts for things he might be able to sell. Amanda's in charge of tonight's shift. She comes over to check in and pulls up a chair to the table. "Hey, Trevor, how are you this evening?" "Good. Got a coffee. I'm okay." "So, why do you have a light fixture with you tonight?" "It's a chandelier. I found it. I'm going to fix it. It's worth a lot of money. It's gold." "Is that so?" Amanda knows better than to argue with Trevor. No. It's a trick. It's not really gold. See that? Trevor points to the scraped metal. You're right. I think it's cheap brass, too shiny for gold, really. Amanda gently reinforces Trevor's insight. Clutching his hands to his chest, Trevor says, "It's broken. Be careful. Don't cut yourself." Yes. That's probably why someone threw it away. Can I dispose of it for you? Just to make sure no one cuts themselves on it. She does not reach for the fixture until Trevor agrees to its disposal. It's a chandelier. I found it. I was going to fix it. It's not worth any money. It's broken. You're right about that. I'll take it away. I know what to do with it. Thanks. Amanda gathers the attached chain and lifts the fixture. Look, now you have room to eat dinner. That's better, eh? Thanks. No problem. As Amanda crosses the room, she greets regular guests by their names, inquires about their day, explains why she's carrying a shiny gold fixture. With nothing to occupy his hands, Trevor starts tapping lightly on the tabletop. He mumbles, "Not gold, broken. Not gold, worthless, broken." The mission is the only place where Trevor has human contact. He knows staff will arrange for medical support if he needs it. They make sure he has a warm coat, mittens, boots. The meals are delicious, and they give him snacks to take back to his camp. His takeout box has 3 donuts he's saving for later. It's essential for Trevor to make the hike to the mission from his home in the deep forest every day. The mission outreach worker knows exactly what forest Trevor is referring to. She's been there to check on him. He's told staff that his family is still in town. He says they're rich, but that could simply mean that they live in a house. Trevor knows they love him, but they can't be with him anymore. Their relationship is broken. I didn't say it was going to be a funny story or a happy story. It's a heart-wrenching story. But so here are the 3 questions. Why does this person choose to live in a tent? He doesn't. That's his only option. He has no money for rent. And besides that, would you have this guy living in your basement apartment? No. He's a hazard. He could start a fire in the living room to keep himself warm. He doesn't choose to live in a tent. That's his only option. Why doesn't he get a job? Would you employ this guy? No, he's unemployable. And where is his family? Oh, people, his family tried. They tried. And at some point, they have to look after their own mental health and release him to the world. This guy's, I don't know, it's so hard to tell. He's in his 30s probably. So he did not come from an abusive home. He came from a supportive, caring home. And he finds himself on the street in Guelph. So there are a lot of stereotypes that I work to clarify. One is that the people at the mission are coming from other places, and they're coming here because they know that we are good in Guelph. No. For the most part, the people in the mission are people from Guelph. As a retired teacher, on 3 occasions, I've had somebody come up to the counter and go, "Hello, Mrs. Reidel." I go, "Oh." That kid, when I taught him in grade 9, his career plan didn't include becoming a fentanyl addict. No. A ex-student of mine died in July from fentanyl. These are our people. These are Guelph people for the most part. Another myth that needs to be cleared up is that they all come from horrible homes. Some of them do. There are stories in this book about people who were horribly abused as children, like cigarette burns as punishment and just awful situations because their parents were equally broken. And what I have to say about that is that the mission is an opportunity to stop that cycle. There's a young mom at the mission who has 2 kids, one this size who's quite intellectually challenged, and a toddler. And she's doing her best. She was rent-evicted, and so she's struggling. And the mission recently gave her a job cleaning the place 3 nights a week, I think it is. I'm guessing $10 an hour. Amanda can correct me later if I'm wrong. So $10 an hour, 3 hours a night, 3 nights a week, that's $90 a week. That's really big for a single mom who's struggling. She lost that position because of the lack of funding. Another myth is that the mission is looking for this money because they're trying to sustain themselves as an entity. No. This is an evangelical Christian organization that is trying to make the world a safer place. There are people from away. There's a gentleman there from Kenya who's written about in the book. He came to Canada because his life was in danger due to political stuff. He's now a member of the Rotary Club and a staff member at the mission. He is giving back. I'm watching my time, and I've just gone over my time limit, so I'm going to wrap up and tell you what I think about this funding issue and what my dear friend just said about the meeting coming up at council. I'm not in those secret meetings, so I don't know this. This is my interpretation. The Downtown Business Association does not like the mission. They don't like where it's located. They don't like the fact that there are people on the street that look shabby, that make us feel uncomfortable when we're having dinner at the restaurant across the street. There's a story in the book about a group of sisters sitting in the window of Majida, looking across at the mission and having a conversation about this. It is uncomfortable because it reminds us of our privilege. And so there's big pressure on the city of Guelph to move this service where we don't have to look at it. There is no other place in town that is equipped to feed this many people 7 days a week. I saw you guys have a kitchen, but it's not the big commercial kitchen we're talking about with the freezers and stuff. So for council to spend a whole bunch of money to move these people over there where we don't have to see them, in my opinion, is wasteful, and that's your money, and that's what we need to complain about. The mission's doing good work. I think we need to support it. The last thing I'm going to say is these books are free for a $25 donation. I have to say it like that because the mission's not in the book sales business and they don't do tax receipts or receipts for books. But if you'd like to make a donation, I have a whole bunch of books and I'm going to go to coffee time in a minute and I'd be happy to talk to you and I'd be happy to put a book in your hand. That $25 is a targeted amount because the financial administrator at the mission calculated that if we could get 1,000 Guelph citizens to donate $25 a month, the mission would be sustainable. I can spend $25 at Starbucks. Oh, no. Anyway, so that's the thought I'm leaving you with. I'll be down there. I'd be happy to meet you. I'd be happy to hand you a book. Thank you for this huge opportunity to speak to you and tell you about this project.